One.
Mhm.
All right, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Praxis Speech Sister Show podcast as part as the Pediatric Speech Sister Network on YouTube. I am so thankful and excited to have our guest Cary on here, SLP Grad Student. We've had Cary on the Pediatric Speech Sister Show podcast, and Cary just gave us amazing information. Really, what it's like to be a Latinx speech pathologist. And so I called her back to the Praxis Speech Sister Show because that you are first of all, you're amazing when it comes to your mentorship on
Thank,
a broad scale.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, yes. So that's why I wanted to bring you on here because when it comes to passing the SLP Praxis exam, and especially if you are from a Latinx background, there's different sorts of challenges that come with standardized tests in general. So I'm very excited to get your perspective.
Definitely. Yes. I'm excited to
Yay.
share.
Yes, yes, yes. So before we get started and before I do Carrie's introduction, I do just want to shout out our sponsors, True Learn. This episode is brought by True Learn. If you are preparing for the speech pathology praxis, you're going to want to check out their Smart Bank. It has over 1,200 questions crafted by experts and fully mapped to the SLP Praxis blueprint. TrueLearn's platform is super flexible with options to take practice tests in timed or untimed or tutor modes. And here's what makes TrueLearn even more amazing. You can use it throughout your grad program, not just for test prep. So, with spaced repetition, personalized quizzes, and in depth explanation with references, you can truly build your knowledge over time. And for those busy days, because we all have them, TrueLearn's mobile app makes studying on the go easier than ever. So go ahead and check out TrueLearn. I will put that link in the show notes, the affiliate link, and let's go ahead and get started in today's episode. So, Carrie, will you go ahead and introduce yourself to the Praxis fam?
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Cary. I have been in SLP since August of 2021. I currently work in a school setting and I also work in a private practice. And I am working on growing and creating my own private practice as well. So, I'm all about learning new things and I love to help other people on the same journey that I was once on. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for being here. And maybe later in the episode, if you're open to talking about your private practice journey, I'd be super excited to hear about that.
Of course.
But can you start by telling us your why? Why are you a speech pathologist, and why did you stay?
Wow. Well, my why, that's a deep question. I'd say it started with just like always wanting to help people, right? Like I actually stumbled across the field of speech pathology, I'd say as like a miracle. I went through a period in undergrad where I didn't know what I wanted to do. At one point, I was a business major, and my brother was like, "Girl, like you are not giving business, so change that major." So then once I did, I ended up taking like those career aptitude tests and found that speech pathology was the thing that was recommended for me. And I looked into the field. I shadowed some SLPs, and from there I fell in love with it. And honestly, like my biggest push to wanting to be successful is my parents. So, I grew up watching them work so hard. Sometimes, like really not liking what they wanted to do, and so like for me, enjoying what I do and finding that satisfaction is my why. And at some point I want to be able to help my parents out the same way that they helped me.
That's beautiful, and I know so many clients, specifically of Latinx backgrounds, that is the mission. So I just want to take care of my family in the long run. I want my family to be a part of my private practice, like just very family oriented.
Yeah.
So that actually does bring me to my next question, and I know that you're very open about this. What was your journey like, your praxis prep journey like, specifically as a Latinx speechie?
My praxis journey, I definitely felt like I had a lot to prove. I did not pass my first time that I took the praxis. I felt like it was just too rushed. I tried to pass within a certain amount of time because I had family visiting me and I just wanted to get it out the way, but that just wasn't the right way for me to do it. And so that had caused me to have a lot of anxiety. I always felt like, oh my gosh, am I going to pass the praxis? Am I going to become a practicing SLP? So at one point, it really did debilitate me in a sense, because just like my mental health was like centered around all of that, a bunch of anxiety. And so I ended up like reframing my mindset, purchasing a lot more study kits and stuff like that to help me out. um, I made like spreadsheets and things like that to just track my progress from the beginning of like my study journey to the middle to the end. Took multiple practice attempts, like the practice ones, and literally just tracked my progress as much as I could. And from there, that's when I took it and I passed the second time. But like, I always just felt like I had a lot more to prove because I was Latina. You know, I had my sister, for example, she's a nurse, and like she passed her nursing exam like the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to be like that. I want to pass it the first time. And you know, life works in other ways, in mysterious ways, and um it just wasn't meant to be for me to pass that first time. And so I really took a step back, studied, put my heart and soul into it without mentally burning myself out. And then from there, like that's when I was able to pass the praxis.
I love how you said without mentally burning yourself out. I feel like that is an art. So can you tell us
Yes.
how you mastered that art?
Oh my gosh. A lot of balance, definitely. Like I would be in my school's building like on the weekends from 9 to like 1, sometimes 9 to 3, and I would have one of my close friends with me there studying as well. And like, you know, we'd make acronyms, things like that, but then we'd also like sit there and take our breaks. So like we would go get coffee together, go try new places, maybe go for a walk to kind of like unwind and kind of like remove ourselves from there. So, you know, I always had like, I tried to have a strict balance because prior to taking the praxis, I was like, I'm going to study 12 hours a day. That's unrealistic. Yeah. And that's exactly, that'll lead you to like burning yourself out, right? So, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to have a little bit more balance. I'm going to try to just study from 9 to 3, whatever, get it done. And just track my progress like that, because that's the best way without like, you know, burning yourself out. So yeah.
One thing that's coming up for me, Carrie, is, and I don't know if this saying is in the Latinx community, but like I know specifically in the Black community, we say something like you need to work twice as hard to be, equally as good, or or something along the lines of that. Is that the same kind of mindset or proverb, so to speak, that's taught?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have a lot more to prove. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, definitely. So what mindset shifts did you make to realize that you're enough just as you are?
A lot of affirmations.
Yeah.
I definitely had to do a lot of like cognitive behavioral therapy on myself, you know, trying to reframe my mindset. Instead of saying like I can't, like always just saying I can, I will, like I am gonna do this thing and I'm gonna pass. I literally had like post-its all over my apartment that said, I'm gonna pass the praxis, like I'm gonna do this, you know, because I feel like if you surround yourself with those positive words, then you're more likely to start believing it little by little. You know what I mean? So that definitely helped me reframe my mindset. Talking to my family, talking to my fiance about just like how I was feeling and everything, having them pour into me, you know, like tell me, no, like you're gonna pass, take your time, be patient with yourself, be gracious, because like again, going back to what I was saying before, we want everything in our time, but sometimes like that's not gonna happen, you know, like we make plans and it just doesn't happen that way. So yeah, definitely having to do all of that helped.
Yes, and definitely being patient with the process. I do want to circle it back to family, since family is such a core value. How did you incorporate your family in the process, and even through the graduate school process, to help you overcome that imposter syndrome and connect to your purpose for joining?
Well, like I would always just reach out to my family whenever it was that I needed like that emotional support, you know, just like having them remind me that I'm there for a reason, you know, like it was tough being one of the first people in my family to move away, nonetheless to Utah from Jersey, you know. So like I would call my dad every day and FaceTime my dad. My sister was like she was at the forefront of everything for me, you know. And so I always just tried to keep them in the loop with whatever it was I was feeling, and they were just like my biggest support. You know, even when I presented my capstone, my dad, that doesn't really know how to mess with technology, he was right there on Zoom, like
Oh.
supporting me, you know? So like I always try to just like let them know things in advance, and if I ever felt any type of way, like they were the first ones to know.
One thing that comes to mind is overcoming that almost like fear of overcoming the fear of failure, but like the judgment that you're failing. So for example, like being vulnerable to mention
Yes.
like, "Hey, I need help," or "I'm at a really low point." So what I don't know, any mindset shifts that you had to help you overcome that and just reach out and ask for help?
One thing about me is I hate being vulnerable.
Yeah.
That is like I'd rather just sit there and go through it than open up to anyone about anything, you know. And even today, like I still struggle with vulnerability, but I'm learning that like the people who care about you won't mind hearing what it is on your mind. You know what I mean? Like they'll be there for you to support you and things like that. So again, it's all about like me reframing my mindset and like even just reading up on it, right? To understand myself a little bit more. Like, why is it that I have these issues with vulnerability? You know, like what is it that I can do to allow myself to open up to others, to ask for that help, and be okay with that. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, because I noticed immediately how you said cognitive behavioral therapy instead of just, like, mindset shifts, you said cognitive behavior, which is a very specific. I remember I had a workbook in graduate school for that because it's real, like, when those thoughts are coming up, you gotta get curious about them, but it's not always taught.
Exactly.
S yeah. Do you have any, recommendations for getting into cognitive behavioral therapy besides a therapist?
Um, Definitely just like reading books, right? There's a ton of books on mental health. Like there's one that I like that it's like The Body Keeps the Score, and
Mhm.
that one's really good. And even like because some people might have familial trauma, and so that might shape how you think and how you act as an adult. So I have a book there. I don't remember the name of it, but it's a really, really good book, and it goes into all of that, better understanding yourself and how that trauma might play into adulthood. So
Is
yeah.
it didn't start with you?
No, it wasn't that.
Okay.
I could see if I could go get it real quick. It's
Yeah,
over.
no, go for it,
Yeah.
please.
I'll be
Let us
right.
know.
Yes, yes, I'll be right back.
Yes, yes. And the reason why, I'm like, Carrie, please go ahead and grab that book because those generational wounds are so deep and they show up when we have to do hard things, which is good. I believe I'm a firm believer that those beliefs are by design or that they start triggering you by design so that way you can clear them. And a great
Yeah.
way to clear them is through psychology. So, yes, thank you.
Definitely, of course. So it's actually this book, so Adult Children: The Secrets of like Dysfunctional Families, and
Oh,
this
wow.
like it's really good. I like got it for $5 at a vintage library, but like
Amazing.
it caught my attention because it talks about all of that. It talks about like family dynamics. So if like you're the middle child, how you would be versus like the baby in the family versus the firstborn. So it talks about all of that. So this is definitely like my go-to.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find that and do a link, and we can have a whole other episode. Honestly, on that, I
Let's do
don't
it.
know. We might have to go that direction, Carrie. We're gonna see. Well, let's quickly talk about strategy
Mhm.
and how that helped you pass. Like, I just want to quickly touch on the fact that you spent a lot of time tracking your progress. How do you
Mhm.
think that that specifically helped you get over that hurdle the second time?
Um, so I was crazy. I made that Excel sheet with every single chapter. I had anatomy, dysphagia, um, what is it? Phonological processes, all of that, right? And so I would track it from the beginning. So when I first took the practice test, and then after I read the chapter, took my notes, did my thing, and then like at the end when I did all the chapters. And I felt like it really helped me because it showed me where I was at in the beginning and where I got to. And then it also showed me in what areas I was lacking, right? So if I didn't do good in dysphagia, then I know, okay, I really got to focus on dysphagia. If I didn't do good, if I did super well in anatomy, then I'm like, all right, anatomy's out of the picture. I don't have to worry about it too much. So that was like kind of like a visual for me. And it showed me like my weak spots or my blinders, you know?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I will say too, and no, you're not crazy, by the way, because that's like the first thing that I recommend. Because same thing, Carrie. Like when I first took the Praxis, I was just kind of going with the flow. I didn't have a clear plan.
Mm-hmm.
But that second time I took it, I was organized. I had the same spreadsheet, except it wasn't a spreadsheet, it was like paper. And I'm like,
Yeah,
these are the dates that I'm studying this subject. Do I have it? Yes, no, check, cross off, move on to the next one. So that is
yeah,
what I recommend.
definitely.
Um, I want to future pace it and hear a bit more about this private practice journey that you're on. And
Yeah.
even just, let's just say, like, after you pass the SLP praxis exam and
Mhm.
where you are now, can you kind of walk us through that journey?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it might take a while, but
Hey, that's all right.
so when I took the praxis and finally passed, I graduated a couple weeks later, and I moved back home to Jersey. I was working for a contract company that placed me in a school here in Jersey, in a school district, and I was there for a little bit, and then, well, so my first year it was great. I loved it. My second year, they put me in a preschool, and it was too much. My mental, physical, and emotional health was just down the drain. And so I ended up requesting to move to another school, and so that's when they moved me to another school. So I was super happy there, but I always felt like I wanted to actually work for a district. And so once I left that job, I got a job at a district, and I've been so much more happier. I love the district I work for. Yes, it might have its pros and cons, but every district does. But then what led me to wanting to open my own private practice was just the fact that, like, I was also doing side hustles working at private practices, right? And just seeing how some of the owners were that I interacted with, like, you know, they were great in the beginning, but then I started like seeing, like, the rose colored glasses came off, and I started
Mhm.
seeing like the true side of it. And I was like, um, there was a practice I was working at for a while. I didn't get a raise, and I was bilingual. I am bilingual, and I just felt like it was time for me to get a raise. And um, I don't feel like the owner would have been receptive to that. So I ended up deciding, like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and open up my own practice and do my own thing, because I don't always want to be working for someone else, right? Eventually, like, I do want to take my practice to the next level, but working for someone else is not going to do it for me. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I just really didn't want to continuously deal with just like pla- places that just weren't good for me. So yeah, that's when I ended up opening my own practice and moving forward with that.
Okay, and thank you. And sorry, I saw a comment on here, but I think we're just gonna block that user. So, okay, so that actually let me get my train of thought together.
Mhm.
You were mentioning the private practice and everything, and that actually makes me want to ask how you advocate for yourself as a bilingual speech pathologist.
I struggle with that. I'm not even gonna sit there and lie.
Mhm.
I feel like the imposter syndrome plays a part in that, right? Because it's like, okay, well, if I advocate for myself, what am I really trying to prove? Like, I start doubting myself, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but I've been learning to kind of just stand my ground with things, like, if I don't feel something's right, I kind of just let it be known. I let it be known professionally, because we're not trying to get,
Right.
like, we're not trying to burn bridges or look bad in front of anyone. But I definitely try to just say, hey, like, this is what's on my plate right now. I would love to help you, but I unfortunately can't. If I could, I definitely would, but this is all I can offer. And yeah, so, like, just really standing my ground on places and things that, like, I feel are what I need to stand up for.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I don't know if there is a ethics or scope of practice for bilingual speech pathologists? Because I mean,
Mhm.
especially in the schools, that's something I got to look up because I will
Yeah,
say that because of your skill set, because I experienced this as a bilingual speech pathologist too, like boundaries are crossed, but the
yeah,
pay isn't raised.
yeah. Oh,
You know? What's
yeah,
up with that?
yeah, literally. Like even for well, with my district job, I had to
Yeah.
negotiate with them because I was like, no, this is not what you're gonna pay me. Like, pay me what I'm worth, you know.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, when I negotiated with them, they were able to meet me where I wanted to be met, and that's when it was perfect. But yeah, it's hard.
What are there any specific, I guess, phrases or keywords that you can share that can make sure that you're getting paid what you're comfortable being paid for what you do?
Um, Off the top of my head, I can't really think of any, but I'd just say like work on highlighting like your skills, right? So for example, if you have any trainings, mention that. Like if you have interprofessional collaboration, mention that because that's big, especially in the schools. You may collab with the OT, PT possibly in sessions. So like just making a list of those selling points and putting it on the table because if you don't, then they're just gonna be like, okay, well, she doesn't really
Right.
care. She has no really trainings, no specialties, so let's just give her whatever we're offering.
Hmm. Do you
Yeah.
think that there is an immediate correlation between graduate school, the SLP praxis, and then when you're out in the field as far as the trainings go, right? So, because I don't think that they necessarily broadcast any specific trainings for us. We just kind of maybe come across them on Instagram,
Mhm.
but in a way that's still almost like gatekeeping because we don't know about it. We don't know what they exist.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Like, I feel like you definitely it is something that is gate kept, right? Like
Hmm.
you have to definitely go digging. I mean, I know like with trainings, like sometimes if I'm looking into practices and stuff like that, like I'll look up about the owner and I'll see, oh, the owners are trained in this, and then I look up that course and that's how I find more info about it. But I feel like yeah, from taking the praxis to going into the real world, it's definitely like two different things for sure.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Well, Carrie, is there anything that is just really on your mind or heart to share with the audience, especially those from Latinx backgrounds who are facing those specific challenges?
I want to say you are worthy. I know it might be tough right now, but you wouldn't have made it this far. And, this is a field that it's not for the faint of heart. So definitely like continue to fight, continue to strive because we're going to be the change. We're going to be what makes the field better, you know? And having people with the experiences that they do, that's the way that we can get others to speak up, right? Like my journey, I can speak up on. Melanie, you can speak on your journey, like, and that's how hopefully we'll spread the word and allow things to hopefully change. So definitely don't give up on this field. Don't let others make you feel inferior because I know I struggle with that as well. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Well, where can people find you? And can you tell us a little bit about what you have going on? I know that you have the mentorship program. Can you tell us about SLP Grad Student?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram at SLP Grad Student. I had to take a break from the mentorship program because I am saving for my wedding right now, so I'm in hustle mode. But I'm available if anyone ever needs anything to just reach out to me. I do have some things that I plan to release soon, so that'll be fun. And yeah, my page is basically for advice for memes. I love to make people laugh. So definitely that's my biggest thing.
Well, thank you, Carrie. And y'all, Carrie's being very humble right now. She's being very demure. But her page is her page is really an incredible resource, and it is great if you just need a laugh, whether you're practicing or in graduate school, wherever you are on your SLP journey. Please check out SLP Grad Student. Well, thank you so much, Carrie, for your time today, and thank you for sharing your energy with Praxis Preppers and with the network once again. And thank you, everyone. Yes. And thank you, everyone, for who came to the replay. And we will see you in the next one.